Hello, welcome to Good Sports. I'm Robert Parris alongside
Mike Espejo.
and looks like another episode, another topic. And this month we'll be talking about March Madness. Mike, I know you have a whole bunch of details about March Madness, so let's hear it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Robert. Episode 6 of Good Sports. We're talking about March Madness, which is one of the great events on the sports calendar. It is the men's Division I basketball tournament. There's also a women's, and there's a second round, a lower tier, called the NIT. And it is the top 68 teams that make the tournament. And they're judged on how they play throughout the year, strength of schedule. There's a big thing called Selection Sunday, where they pick the top 68 teams. And what it is basically 6 rounds of basketball. The last 4 teams are called the first 4, actually, and they play 2 play-in games. So seeds 62 to 68 will play a first-round play-in game to get into the main tournament. That happens usually the Tuesday before the tournament starts. Unfortunately, the Northeast is not a big college sports area. I think we're more focused on the pros around these parts because we have such a strong pro teams and not really a strong hotbed for college athletics. We have like BC and BU. We're strong in hockey, but I really wish the Northeast was more focused on March Madness because it's a great tournament. And what draws a lot of people to the tournament is the brackets, where all the teams are lined up and you pick your brackets, and there's a lot of gambling involved. There's point systems for each round. You get a point, and it's a lot of fun. One of my main reasons to continue still following doing the brackets is I want to beat my friend Allie. We are always in the same tournament every year, and pretty much my March Madness goal is just to beat Allie and make sure I do better.
What's your record in March Madness brackets?
Oh God, I've been doing them since I was in college, and I found, strangely enough, that I do better when I don't follow college basketball throughout the year. Like I've had a year in college where I watched a ton of college basketball, knew all the teams, knew all the names. And there's so many teams. There's like probably 300 teams with all the conferences, divisions, all that. And I think I found I've done better when I just pick them and not follow throughout the year because it's a lot.
So you do random picking?
Yeah, random, and you read some stuff and catch some games here and there, but I don't watch as much typically as I used to. And there are pretty much 2 types of pools: the select your bracket pool, and also there's one newer type of pool called a knockout pool, which is very cool. It's say there are 60, so pretty much people only bet the 64 teams, so the six rounds. The knockout pool is you get a certain number of teams, and against the spread, if they cover the spread, you continue and move on. So say we had a game, you had like BC and I had Georgetown, and the spread was 5. And Georgetown wins by more than 5, I get Georgetown and I move on. So that's how it moves. Kind of hard to explain, but pretty cool. Another way to gamble and watch the tournament. The tournament goes over 3 weekends. The first weekend's a crazy weekend in Las Vegas because it's just constant games, Thursday to Sunday, games all day. And it's a great time to be in Las Vegas because you can just gamble on all the games, watch all the games. The second weekend's called the round of Sweet 16, Elite 8. And the final weekend's called the Final Four weekend, the last 4 teams on Saturday. Then they play the championship game on Monday. So this year's tournament is very good. What people love is the upsets. They're broken into 4 brackets: North, South, East, and West. And there are 16 teams in each bracket. And in each bracket, each team is seeded 1 to 16. And what people love is when a lower seed beats a more favored team. The lower your seed, the better you are, the higher ranked your team is, kind of inverse. And only 2 times in the history of the tournament did a 16 seed ever beat a number 1 seed. So, and just my luck, it just happened for the first time a couple years ago, and I had the number 1 seed, Purdue, and they lost to a 16 seed, and I had them picked to win the whole thing. So kind of ruined my whole tournament. But there's a lot of great storylines in this year's tournament. People love the upsets, the buzzer beaters, and it's usually great basketball. The college games are better because it's a little quicker than the pros. I think it's 2 20-minute halves. And there's always a buzzer beater. This year, the buzzer beater was Maryland, number 4 seed, beating Colorado State, 12 seed in the second round. They beat him on a buzzer beater at the end of the game.
Were you excited? Did you see that live?
I did not. I saw the highlights. But they're always fun. Another interesting thing that happened this year was Kansas was the preseason number 1 team. And they were picked at the beginning of the year as the best team by all the prognosticators, critics, and they lost in the first round, which has never happened before. We had some cool historic matchups too. In the second round, we had John Calipari, who's a longtime famous coach who coaches Arkansas. He went up against Rick Pitino, who coaches St. John's. And that was like a huge matchup of 2 legendary coaches. And Calipari won that one in Arkansas and went on to the Sweet 16. This year, we're going to have a new champion. The last 2 years were won by the University of Connecticut. And I'm kind of glad Connecticut lost because their coach is really, we'll say, extra passionate. We'll say a little bit too much. And
so he's like the KC of college. Well, not the coach, but the team is kind of like the Kansas City of college basketball.
Yeah, they're the hot team right now, and they won it the last 2 years. And the coach has gotten a little big for his britches, a little obnoxious, and I was glad to see them lose. As I've mentioned on the show before, I'm an alumni of the Ohio State University from the Big Ten Conference.
And so is Justin Fields.
Yeah. And
but we're not talking about basketball, Robert. Keep it on track.
Ohio State did not make the tournament. They made the second tournament for the teams that aren't as good, called the NIT. But I will say the Big Ten did go 7-0 in the first round. So all of our teams won in the first round. There was a little controversy this year.
Uh-oh.
In the first 4, one of the teams that made the first 4 or last 4, whatever you want, is North Carolina. And they weren't very good. They didn't have a resume good enough for the tournament, people thought. But on the selection committee was the athletic director for North Carolina, who also was the guy that hired Bill Belichick. So they were saying that he kind of pulled some shadiness and put his school in. But North Carolina did win the first game, but got killed in the second game. So now they're out, and it's not a controversy anymore. But March Madness it's a great time of year. It always signifies the turning of spring, the warm weather, and it leads us into baseball, leads us into the Masters. And just that first weekend, again, is just Walter. The games start at like 12 o'clock, and they'll go until 11 at night. And all day long, you can put it on the TV, and you'll see March Madness. And again,
it feels like it's on every station. You go to the TV guide, it's like TNT or ESPN, ABC, CB. Like they're all like, wow, it's like all different games. Like how do you keep up?
Yeah, so the men's are on the Turner networks, the TBS, TNT, True TV, CBS. And the women's are on ESPN, the ESPN networks. So I will say one thing about the women is their game has gotten a lot better recently with like Caitlin Clark.
Yep. I mean, they should be changing this instead of March Madness to Caitlin Clarkness.
Yeah. I mean, she really drummed up a lot of interest in the women's side and brought a lot of attention to the women's game. That she was so good, people were tuning into her games and noticing, hey, you know what? These women's games are just as good as the men's. And Caitlin Clark's senior year, I think the women's tournament did actually better than the men's in ratings for the first time ever.
I did watch the championship game with Caitlin Clark, and it was very devastating to see them go down like that.
Right. She played for Iowa, and they lost to USC, I believe. Or
wait, come on, Angel Reese.
Yes.
Who has like a Reese's or whatever. I'm going off track.
Right. And they're a big rival, and they've continued that rivalry on the WNBA. So, the point I was trying to make is one thing I'll say about the women's bracket is there are a lot less upsets in the women's game. I think they follow the seedings better. So, like if you're watching, a 1 seed versus 16, or a 5 versus a 12, or a 3 versus an 11, usually it's going to go the way that it's favored. The men are a little bit more harder to predict. I don't know why that is. The women I guess maybe they're ranked better, or I don't know. There's a lot of a lot of different scenarios. But March Madness is so fun. It's fun. Like I remember starting right here in the high school. My first, I may have mentioned this before. My first exposure to March Madness was here in the library, and there was this one kid writing all 64 teams down on little pieces of paper, and we put them in a hat, and we all picked our team, and it was really neat. And that was the first time I ever learned about March Madness, and watching that and following that team. And then, some people pick the teams just for they like the colors, they like the mascots.
Do you remember who you picked?
I don't. I really don't. That was many moons ago. And another great thing about the tournament is at the end of every tournament, CBS does a montage of all the highlights throughout the tournament to this one song called One Shining Moment. And it will come on, the championship game's on a Monday night. It'll come on at like 11 o'clock on that last Monday night. And it's just a great collection of great plays, highlights, and it's always under that song. And it's just been a tradition every year. If you go on YouTube, you can find, one shining moment from any year. And they sometimes they have funny things online where they rank them and which was the best one. But a lot of fun stuff about March Madness. What do you think? What's your experience with March Madness? Have you ever done a pool? Have you ever done anything like that?
I've actually never done a pool. I think I really got, there was a couple years ago where it was, this has to be pre-pandemic. I think Gonzaga might have been in the championship, it was Gonzaga, and it was this really tall guy. It was like probably 6 feet and above. And every time he went to the basket, he kept missing. I'm like, how is that possible? And then really, the one that really I watched it was Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, she was phenomenal last year. Now,
Yeah,
WNBA, I mean, their season's much different than the NBA. I mean, I think they should have them on. They sometimes have them on the same time like WNBA and the NBA, but I think they start their season in the summer.
Yeah, right after the NBA kind of wraps up.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, it's what was I going to say about I forget what I was going to say about the
Tournament.
The tournament. I forget.
Was it about here for you? You asked me what I liked about the tournament. What do you like about the tournament? Like what do you like about watching the teams play and seeing these young athletes, either freshman or senior, just seeing them? Okay.
Your question just led me right to it. Thank you.
Okay.
What I love to see is the upsets, the Cinderella team, like a lower seed like a 12 go all the way to the Final Four. Again, that's 16 teams, 4 regions, 16 teams in each region. So if you get a 12 seed to go to the Final Four, that's pretty impressive. That means they're like 48th in the country. I love seeing the upsets. I love seeing like small schools, and this also goes to the upsets, like a small school, like if you've ever seen the movie Hoosiers, their high school tournament is very similar to this college tournament where they have a big bracket and it's a huge deal in Indiana. And like when you see a small, tiny school do well and win a few games, like the whole school gets behind it, the whole campus gets behind it. It's a great thing for the colleges. And even going to like the tournament, like when I was in college, I went, I've been to a few tournaments, and it's so fun because you see each host has 8 teams, and they have mini tournaments on that weekend. So they'll have they'll have 2 games on Thursday and then 1 game on Saturday. And one cool thing is once the 2 teams that leave, those people are like unloading tickets, so it's easier to get into the later game because they don't want to stay, right? They want to go home. So, and all these games are neutral sites, and you get to see. It's just there's a lot of. It's more. I think it's more of a pure form of basketball too. I think a big criticism of the NBA is that there's a lot of 3-pointers.
Oh yeah.
And it's not as watchable, but
3-point land.
Yeah.
Do you actually? You just think we have another. I thought of another question for you. Have you been to a March Madness game?
I have, yeah. So I just said I went to a couple of venues, and they're really neat.
What about championship? I remember. I think. Oh, you didn't?
I have not.
Okay. I thought for some reason I thought we did a show, maybe last year, about you going to a championship. That must have been a different sport.
Different sport.
Yeah.
The highest thing I've been to is maybe a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 game.
That atmosphere must have been
it's
phenomenal.
cool. But again, it's also different because the arena is blocked off into 4 like schools. So you have your BC over here,
Right.
your St. John's over here, your Wyoming over here, Texas over here, and it's really neat because then when they play each other, those guys are going against each other, and then because they have to split the allotment for each weekend. So it's just a really cool thing, and it's fun for the college kids to follow and to go on the road to watch their teams, and it's a great event.
Wow.
It really is.
It
A lot of
just
fun.
seems like a lot going on with the entire college world, with the entire March Madness. Why do you think they call it March Madness? Because it's madness. There's so many teams. So
There
I
is.
mean,
But yeah, so that's our look into March
Yeah.
Madness. Watch. I picked Auburn this year, so we'll see what happens. Duke is another favorite. They've got a young man named Cooper Flagg, who's going to be the #1 pick in the NBA draft. He's from Maine, and
he's a maniac.
he's very good. And he got a little injured, so we'll see.
Oh,
A lot of
drop him in the draft.
he'll probably still be
selection.
#1. A lot of people have picked Duke. I'm not a big Duke fan, so I've picked Auburn, another #1 seed, and we'll see what happens.
All right,
Let's move on to Red Devils.
let's get our pitchfork. There we go. There's the Burlington Bee. Aaron took it on.
So
director
before we start with the Red Devils spring report, let's talk about your one pick that was your pick to click for the winter sports
today. Yeah.
was the girls hockey.
Ooh,
They did pretty good.
They did pretty good. They went to the Elite Eight this year, and
They probably went the farthest, right, of all the teams.
oh yeah,
So you got it right.
I got it right. But of course, last year they were in the Elite Eight. Where did they play? Watertown. It was a neutral site. Where did they play this year? Watertown. Who did they play? Medfield, which is a team that's
Didn't
far
Kurt
away from
Schilling live in Medfield? I don't know, something like that. One of those meds down there. Medway, Medfield.
Medfield's.
Could have been Medfield.
So they lost 3-2 against Medfield. I mean, they scored 2 goals, but funny because Medfield went on to win. They beat Burlington. They were the upset. Medfield was the upset, and they beat Burlington. They went on to win the championship.
Oh wow.
That's good for them.
Little Cinderella story.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I think something happened to us in 2007. Another Cinderella story begins with a G, ends with an S. Mr. Manning.
Yes.
But anyways,
So all right, let's move on to spring sports. What do we have?
right. So
what do we have to look forward to this spring
right.
for the Burlington Red Devils?
all right, so we actually have 4 new coaches. I'm gonna go in order of just how I written this down. So we'll start with the new coaches. Excuse me. First, we're gonna start with softball. Kelly Pissotti replaced Kristen Farrell, and she was a
championship
Yep.
winning.
Yep. She was a player for her, I believe, in 2010, and she was an assistant from here on out. And then Kristen Farrell says, hey, I'm going to hang up my hat, and Kelly Pissotti is going to be taking the reins of softball, so that should be interesting to watch. We also got Danielle Cavino, who replaced Jess Nelson, girls track.
Yep.
And she was also an assistant last year and previous year and before that, so she knows the team in and out already. We have a brand new lacrosse coach who is from Granbury, Connecticut, Maddie Skiff. So she went to Framingham State.
She's women's lacrosse?
Yeah, girls lacrosse. And she's replacing Kat Bose. She's brand new. I mean, like brand new, like not a Burlington alum. So it's hopefully we'll see.
Did she
great
coach before down there in Connecticut?
She was just she lives in Connecticut. She lived in Connecticut, but she was a player down in like Connecticut.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to see how she does.
Yeah, first year coach.
Also for lacrosse, Ryan Doherty or Coach Dots is replacing Brendan Manny for boys lacrosse. He was also an assistant, a BHS alum by leaving 2014. So it will see what he does. And again, he's very familiar with the program. As I said, a bunch of these coaches are assistants, with the exception of Maddie Skiff. So that should be very interesting to watch. As far as the other coaches, Chris Passotti is going to be doing his second year in baseball. He won a playoff game last year against. I'm losing it because I was just working on something related to him, so he won last.
Will their new field be ready?
That is a question because I was looking at the Arbiter site and it says that their first home game. Guess when it is? Take a guess.
I will say
It's in April.
Easter Sunday.
April 28th.
Wow.
That's late. So realistically, they only have 7 home games.
Is that a Monday?
That is a Monday. Monday.
No, I know is Little League in Burlington starts April 26th, and that's when the parade is.
Yep. I remember doing that last year with Mr. Brothers.
Yep.
Brian Brothers.
And we're doing it again. So that's the only reason why I know that's a Monday.
You're going to be there?
Yeah, Brody's playing baseball, so I'm excited.
Congrats, Brody. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, me too.
So continuing, we got unified basketball.
Oh, that's great.
So I know that happened a couple of years ago. It could have been
That's a great program.
21 or 22. I know the pandemic. I'm trying to fix. Yeah. So Sean Hart will be taking the head coaching job. Well,
he coaches that.
Yeah, he coached last year, and before.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Prior to him, it was the boys basketball coach, Phil Connors. I think he's going to take a break. So Sean Hart's going to be coaching that. Great atmosphere to see those kids.
It's a great program. Very
and they
cool.
have the boys basketball team help out with that, and so that everyone helps. So it's great atmosphere. Tennis, we got six-year head coach Tony Moschetto coaching for girls. He's excited to see what they do. So they only lost a couple seniors, but they have a bunch of seniors this year. So it's good to see what they're going to accomplish. Cool. 7th season for boys tennis. We have Scott Barrett. So good to see him. He's also a BHS alumni, class of 2014. So same year as Ryan Doherty. Winsy Seaman, 5th year for boys volleyball.
She's great.
Yep. So we're going to see how.
She does boys and girls.
Yep. Track, Matt Carr. He's been doing it for years.
Old reliable.
So yeah, so it's just like it feels like he's the coach that is just gonna stay consistent until he hangs it up. But I think
he does a great job.
Yeah, I think every year. I mean, when I did my spring sports preview, he was just saying like, I mean, even doesn't matter how many new kids he gets, he shapes them up to be great athletes. I mean, he has a bunch of sophomores this year, so he has a pretty young team. So I think every year he has magic in.
He always seems to find.
Yeah, he finds a way. Like even with these kids, like practicing and doing tryouts and just warming up, like it just finds a way for them to like come in first place or just PRs and stuff like that. So I mean,
he must be a very good coach.
Danielle Gavino was working under Jess Nelson, who was a great coach, and she will be working with Jess again as an assistant, but only for like a couple days a week, so she'll be there
part-time.
Part-time. She's not going to be there. I'll be assistant. It's just like, no, she'll be there a couple times. So Jess won't be farewell. She'll still be there, but only for like a couple days.
Who are your high expectation picks to click to? Who do you think is going to have a good season? And again, not holding you to it, just
right.
Just a gut
feeling. Say it, Robert. Say it.
What do you think? Isn't the lacrosse team bringing back a bunch of seniors?
Yeah. I think lacrosse.
And they were pretty good last year.
Yeah. I think both lacrosse teams will do really well. I think it feels like I have a feeling that the baseball team will do really well. I mean, you're playing so many games on the road, basically the majority of April. So I just because you don't have a home field doesn't mean not pretend that you're home, but I mean like that must be like we start the season on the road for like, I think it's like 8 games. 8 games on the road. Imagine if they did that to any other professional team. It would be like, fans would be very upset. But I mean, hey, something's not done. But you're going to get a brand new field. You're also going to get a scoreboard. A scoreboard of Francis Wyman. Finally, after being there for like years. People saying, what's the score? What's the inning? You're going to finally see it. So that's going to be a really great thing to see when it's
coming along nice. I drove by the other day because I was curious and the progress. And it's coming along. The dugouts are the shell is up of the dugouts. And
is it like, was it 50% more, hopefully more than that?
I'm not going to do any of that. I could say a number and it'll be way off, so I will just refrain. But no, it's coming into shape.
And did you see the scoreboard being?
I did not see the scoreboard.
Okay, so maybe they're working on that. Hopefully, I mean, you're saying they're going to be putting in a new scoreboard. I mean, you better have it up. But I mean, I just see I really see all these teams doing well. I mean, none of these teams. I mean, everyone was in good spirits during tryouts last week, and when I interviewed them, I mean, the athletes seemed very excited. So I mean, again, it's all up in the air right now, but again, I think all the teams are going to do well.
And here we are, spring season. What a quick year.
Can you believe that? Like, I feel like I remember
Class
like
of 25
fall.
graduating soon,
Yeah,
and
June 1st. June 1st. That is
we'll be
graduation.
back at football before you know it.
I remember I used to know how to play Pomp and Circumstance on a guitar. But yeah, that's the spring
Cool, man.
sports.
Well, that's good. I think we're kind of getting towards the end of our time.
Yeah, it looks like we are, and it looks like not
Well,
sure what our clock says.
It
but-
started a little late, so
Yeah. Okay.
so we're good. I
So,
think.
Mike, you want to wrap it up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Good Sports. Thanks for watching with us, and happy spring, everyone, and enjoy the rest of Madness and our BHS spring teams. So for Good Sports, I'm Mike Espejo.
And I'm Robert Parris.
Catch you next time.
See ya.